Want some more? Be careful what you wish for.
1997, dentro del monasterio Sacred Cross, en Rochester, Nueva York. Durante varios días, la hermana Bernadette permaneció en silencio, con el rostro desencajado y la mirada completamente perdida. A las 3:22 de la mañana, una cámara de vigilancia instalada en la esquina del cuarto registró lo que estás a punto de ver. De repente, la monja se sienta con movimientos bruscos.
Things and demonic possessions that happened are very real. These are the 5 most terrifying demonic possessions cases. Number 5. Maurice Therault, the Satan Harvest Story. Maurice was an ordinary tomato farmer. He was a husband, stepdad, and grandfather. But one day, something very terrifying happened to him. What you just saw on tape is Maurice being exorcised by Bishop Robert McKenna. In 1985, the strange things that began happening in the Therault household escalated. Maurice started experiencing blackouts and he began bleeding from his eyes. Blood started appearing in their house and voices could be heard even when no one was around. What was most shocking was the existence of a supposed doppelganger. His wife would follow this Maurice and he would suddenly disappear. She would head back to the original room only to find him there, unmoved and with no recollection of ever leaving. Several witnesses have also seen the 2 Maurices within seconds of each other. After physical and psychological examinations with 0 results, Ed and Lorraine Warren, paranormal investigators famous for working the Amityville case, were called in. The Warrens suggested exorcism, believing Maurice was possessed by demons. In the tape, you'll hear Bishop McKenna saying an exorcism prayer. Maurice's face is blank with a faraway look. He sits still, but you can clearly see a portion of his skin starting to bubble while the rest begins to crack and crinkle. Then a deep gash right on the side of his head above his eyebrow starts to form. His eyes look serpent-like, and when he's asked, "How many are you?" his eyes roll up. He lowers his head, then collapses. They say he regained consciousness soon after and asked for his wife, Nancy. Witnesses who were present during the rituals say that Maurice's skin was clear once again after the exorcism. Everything seemed fine for years after that, until one day, Maurice took a shotgun and attempted to kill his wife before ultimately turning the gun on himself. What happened to Maurice? Why did his skin bubble up and crack like that? Did the exorcism fail? Whatever it is, the video provides chilling insight about what can happen during an exorcism ritual. Number 4. Michael Taylor. 40 demons. That's the number of demons Michael Taylor carried inside him. Although there are no videos to showcase Michael's exorcism, his story of demonic possession is one of the most controversial and upsetting cases in recent history. Michael lived with his wife Christine, their poodle, and 5 children in Ossett, England. Although the Taylors weren't religious, they began joining the Christian Fellowship group headed by Marie Robinson. Soon Michael began attending religiously and became infatuated with the 21-year-old Robinson. With a newfound faith, Michael's attitude began to change as well. He became short-tempered, argumentative, and spent less time with his family. His fixation with Robinson continued, and soon his wife and those around him noticed. Christine confronted him one day in front of the congregation, accusing him of being unfaithful. To this, Michael exploded and directed his rage at Robinson, lashing out and berating her. It became so intense he had to be restrained. Later on, Michael claimed he couldn't remember doing any of it. With his character clearly deteriorating, the local vicar concluded demonic forces had possessed Michael. On the 5th of October 1974, Father Peter Vincent and Reverend Raymond Smith began the exorcism. Michael started spitting, scratching, and biting, so he had to be restrained on the floor. He was doused with holy water several times, and crucifixes were stuffed in his mouth. He was also forced to confess his sins. Michael continued to growl and snap at anyone who went near him. At 8 a.m. on October 6th, after 8 hours of the ritual, the priests were exhausted. They managed to exorcise 40 demons, including those of bestiality, blasphemy, incest, and more. However, there were still 3 that remained, including anger, murder, and insanity. These 3 had a deep hold on Michael and were to be exorcised the following day. They sent Michael and Christine home to rest. But tragedy would strike that day. At 10 a.m. in the morning, 2 hours after they got home, Michael attacked Christine. He first strangled her, gouged her eyes out, tore out her tongue, and ripped apart her face, all using his bare hands. He then turned to their poodle and tore the poor animal limb from limb. With blood soaking his body, he was found by a patrol car naked and stumbling around the street shouting, "It's the blood of Satan." Is it possible that the remaining demons inside Michael caused him to lash out and murder his wife? Was this perhaps their revenge for being subjected to an exorcism? Michael Taylor was found not guilty due to insanity. He served a total of 4 years in a mental and criminal institution before being released. Number 3. Pope performs exorcism. Exorcism has been a long-standing tradition of the Christian faith, but modern Catholics have seen it as largely taboo. But what if the highest official in the Catholic order is caught performing one? The man in the video is Pope Francis. He's in St. Peter's Square after Mass, offering a prayer of blessings to his devotees. One of the lucky men he approached is Angel V, a 43-year-old Mexican father of 2. In the video, you can see the Pope walking up to him. Angel kisses the Pope's ring, and they shake hands. The priest next to him says something to the Pope, possibly explaining the situation. Soon after, the Pope brings his right hand and places it on Angel's head. Suddenly, his mouth drops open, and a guttural sound emanates from him as the Pope continues to pray. Soon after, he slumps in his wheelchair as the Pope finishes his prayer. Although the Vatican downplayed the incident, saying that the Pope merely laid down a prayer of blessing, it is clear that something was different about this case. According to Reverend Rivas, Angel has been terrorized by over 30 demons and has been exorcised several times, but the demons don't want to leave him. What's even more fascinating about the footage is that you can tell that all those around the Pope, the guards, including the little girl at the corner of the camera, are looking in astonishment at what is happening. The sound emanating from Angel is disturbing. Even if people are normally overcome with joy and emotion when meeting and seeing the Pope, this was clearly something different. Number 2. The Enfield Poltergeist. One of the most controversial poltergeist investigations of recent history, the Enfield Poltergeist has fascinated both skeptics and believers alike.
Hello. Hello. Now, Margaret's sleeping on talking. Margaret's standing talking. Telling him everything. Margaret's sleeping on talking. Wow. Oh, sleep.
In the tape, you will hear Bill Wilkins, a man that died back in the 70s. You would think this was an ordinary, foul, and gruff-voiced man speaking on tape, except that the voice is coming from 11-year-old Janet Hodgins. In 1977, the Hodgson home was disrupted by a series of strange events. The family started hearing noises and banging from all over the house. Furniture even started moving in front of them with no cause. Afraid there were intruders in the house, the mother, Peggy, called the police. Once arrived, an officer witnessed a chair wobble before moving 4 feet across the room. From then on, it was clear the Hodgson home had an uninvited visitor. Items and objects started flying and whizzing around. water would appear on the floor, items levitated, and matches would even spontaneously burst into flames. Still, the most unusual aspect of the case was the spirit of Bill Wilkins. This entity was supposed to be a former tenant who had died there. He said, "Just before I died, I went blind, and then I had a hemorrhage, and I fell asleep and died in the chair in the corner downstairs." The shocking part is that when this recording was played on the radio, a man claiming to be Bill's son recognized his father's voice and confirmed the story. Notwithstanding accusations that Janet was faking the voice, no expert came forward to duplicate it, despite the reward offered by Maurice Grosse, a leading paranormal researcher. The Enfield poltergeist has remained an enduring classic, and to this day, no one knows how, why, who, or what did all those things to that family.
Number 1. Anneliese Michel. Most people know of Anneliese Michel through the movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose. The story in the film was loosely based on the life of this 23-year-old lady. Even though the film was controversial, the events in real life are far more disturbing.
Ja, dann haben wir nicht so viel Macht über die Scheiße, weil mir das ist so nix so.
What you just heard is a snippet from the 42 hours worth of audio recording during the exorcism of Anneliese Michel.
Anneliese grew up in an extremely Catholic family with 3 sisters and her parents, Anna and Joseph. She was a devout Catholic and liked by many. However, everything started spiraling when she turned 16. She started suffering from convulsions and was diagnosed with grand mal epilepsy. She took medication, but this didn't do anything to alleviate her pain. But all this was just the start. Soon she began seeing demonic faces while praying. By 1973, she complained of hearing voices telling her she was damned and would rot in hell. At least one neighbor noticed something was off with Anneliese. During a pilgrimage, the woman realized Anneliese purposely veered away from images of Jesus and avoided drinking water from the holy spring. She also said Anneliese smelled hellishly bad. Several priests examined her, and one of them recommended an exorcism. It took 2 requests before the church granted one, assigning 2 Roman Catholic priests, Father Arnold Renz and Pastor Ernst Alt, on her case. During this time, Anneliese started exhibiting bizarre habits including self-harm, outright aggression, eating only insects, and avoiding food in general for fear it would feed the demons further. She was also witnessed licking her own urine from the floor. By 1975, Anneliese and her parents completely resigned her fate to the church. By September, the exorcism rites on Anneliese began. Surprisingly, Anneliese herself recognized it wasn't just one demon, but instead 6 prominent entities, including Judas, Lucifer, Nero, and Cain, among others that possessed her. During the exorcism, she would rip out rosaries from the priest's hands and growl and snarl like a wild animal. She even spent 2 whole days under the kitchen table barking like a dog and refusing to emerge. She would speak in various languages as you heard on the tape, each with its own tone. If you listen to the rest of it, there's even a portion where 2 demons are arguing with each other. The priests, in an attempt to help her, would perform a total of 67 exorcisms, lasting up to 4 hours each. This ran for 10 months, until even Anneliese acknowledged her inevitable fate.
On July 1st, 1976, 10 months after the exorcism began, Anneliese Michel died. She was only a husk of her former vibrant self, fully emaciated, with sunken cheeks, broken bones, and weighing only 68 pounds. Her death was controversial, as the priests were charged with manslaughter resulting from negligence. Listening to the audio tape of the exorcism is jarring. The rest of the audio recorded can be heard on YouTube. If you do plan to listen to it in full, I suggest you brace yourself. We may consign the idea of demonic possession to the realm of horror films, but the people you just saw and heard genuinely suffered. It's possible they had mental issues beyond our current understandings,
But if you believe that, then you have to also entertain the idea that they could have been possessed by spirits we don't understand.
She was recording the church choir when something terrifying showed up on camera. At first, it looked like just a normal video, but then Mariana explained that while she was watching, she noticed something that felt straight out of a nightmare. Among the people singing, a pale, lifeless figure stood still, staring, almost frozen in time. No one else seemed to notice it. The choir kept singing, the ceremony went on, but this disturbing presence never moved. And honestly, this part still gives me chills. How could something like this even appear in the middle of worship? The Bible warns us, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world." Ephesians 6:12.
Solta essa vida agora. Sai! Você não tem mais lugar aqui. Desce agora em nome de Jesus Cristo. Sai! Está liberta. Obrigado, Senhor.
Back for more.